I know it got started because there were lots of human service agencies that each wanted to have their clients brought to them, and from all over the whole planning district, so it's a huge area, and the gas crisis hit in the 70s, and so the local governments were tired of paying for like lots of little vehicles for every agency, and I said, this doesn't make sense. So that's how Jaunt got started, picking up mostly her human service clients. And then after a while of that, they thought, well, how come there's other people who aren't agency clients but also need to get to Charlottesville or to the doctor or wherever, and so let's pick them up too.
Jaunt was originally started in 1975. At that time it was called Jefferson Area United Transportation, so that's what Jaunt originally stood for back in 1975. So they were doing human service agency transportation, and then in 1977 they got a grant from the Federal Highway Transit Administration and we started doing public transportation.
When I first started 30 years ago, I had no idea what Jaunt was. Just like a lady kept asking me when I first started about the Jaunt van, J-A-U-N-T, and I had no idea what she was talking about, but she was taking the J-A-U and pronouncing it in Spanish, but it actually stood for Jefferson Area United Transportation.
Where Jaunt started in 1975 was actually over on Rose Hill Drive, in a little small building. They left there. When I came to work for them in 1977, they were in the basement of Westminster Presbyterian Church up on Rugby Road.
We were in a rented house and all the vehicles were parked in the parking lot, and then there was upstairs but no interior stairs to the downstairs, so the nitty-gritty parts of Jaunt were in the basement, and the muckety-mucks were upstairs. My office was in the basement, surrounded by tires and engine parts, so that was pretty fun.
We hung up the schedules on individual hooks on a wall for the drivers to get.
The board we had was just a wall of paper, and you just wrote things down on a piece of paper, and you had the radios, the two-way radios, and that was it.
We didn't have computers in our vehicles. Any changes in the schedule, we had to tell the drivers had to write it down.
It was pretty funky back in the olden days too. One of the ideas that didn't fly was to have flag stops, and so they bought everybody bandanas, red bandanas, to flag the bus down.
We had a box of blue and red handkerchiefs, and we handed those out in the community, and people were supposed to stand at the side of the road and flag us down with their little handkerchief. Well, needless to say, that didn't work too well.
And when I got here, we only had 12 vehicles and only one lift vehicle, and we didn't have a mechanic, so we did hire a guy who came and worked on site under a tree, and so he put a 220 outlet on the tree, and so he sat outside in all weathers.
There were times when there was no shade, and he maintained all the vehicles. His name was Jimmy, Jimmy Taylor. Very nice guy. He just recently retired about 4 years ago, if that. He was always making you laugh, and always had such a good attitude.
So in the early 80s, Jaunt incorporated, and they dropped Jefferson Area United Transportation. So we do coordinated system, and we service Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Louisa, Nelson. We added a run at Buckingham. We have 2 employment runs coming out of Buckingham.
A lot has changed than when I first started here. Of course, the building has expanded. Our fleet has more than 4 times the size it was when we first started out here.
So now we have approximately 70 vehicles. We currently have over 100 employees, and most of those employees are drivers.
It's just amazing at how much we've grown from that. Now the technology, the GPS, the cameras, it all protects a whole lot.
And then finally, of course, we built this facility, which has 3-bay garage, or 4 now, and so we hired another mechanic, and so that was a big change and also really helpful. It's great to have your own mechanics, because then they know the ins and outs, and they also know the ins and outs not only of the vehicles and their quirks, but the drivers and their quirks, so they can tell, like, oh, this guy has a heavy foot, so we should check his brakes more often.
Our base has expanded, which has increased drivers, and we're always adding drivers every year, and probably every 6 months we're adding 4 or 5 drivers into the system, because it seems like no matter what we do, the demand keeps growing.
So after 12 years of being assistant director, I left and went to work for the city as a planner, and then came back 2 years later as director. And so was here for 18 years doing that, and just recently retired. And Brad and Karen, I handpicked the team to take over, which is great, so I can leave it and not have to worry about Jaunt anymore.
Well, Donna, of course, has been here over 30 years, and I think one of the biggest things is she instilled some kind of traditional values that Jaunt still embraces, as far as creating a work environment that was family friendly, and as well as flexible work ethics, allowing people to kind of wrap themselves around Jaunt, as well as just the expectations of the service that we provide to the different passengers. And she definitely kind of set the framework for what Jaunt is really about these days. And I think it's the same framework that we'll be using to kind of take us to the next evolution of Jaunt. It's not necessarily the next level as much as the new directions we might be going in, or the new types of services that we're embracing.
Start.
All right, I'm Donna Shaughnessy. I worked at Jaunt for 30 years, and it was just really awesome and wonderful. People are great, and it's such a great service, so you really feel good about what you're doing every day.
Awesome.